Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. The second I saw my mom's name light up on my phone, I knew she was going to ask for something. She only ever calls when she wants to check in, which usually means, do this thing for me that you won't like. She didn't waste time. There's a dinner Friday night, family thing. It would mean a lot if you came. I could have made excuses, but I didn't. My name's Whitney Moore. I'm 37. I used to be a smoke jumper in Colorado. Haven't been to a family function in over 3 years. Not since I walked away from the job that nearly broke me. Mom's voice softened when I hesitated. It's just dinner. Everyone misses you. That was a lie. Everyone didn't miss me. Darren sure as hell didn't. Quick note, before we get into it, tell me where you're watching from today. Darren's my younger brother by 2 years. He's one of those corporate types who thinks sweat is optional and ego is currency. He used to call my crew glorified tree huggers with a death wish. He made sure the whole family knew I'd quit because I couldn't hack it anymore. So yeah, I didn't want to go. But I did, for Mom, and because I wanted to see if Darren still looked at me like I was a walking disappointment. The restaurant was one of those trendy, rehabbed warehouse types. Used to be a tractor repair shop. Now it's all reclaimed wood, exposed beams, overpriced steaks, and dudes who clap when the bill hits the table. I showed up early. I always do. Habit. The hostess led me to a long wooden table near the back. Brick walls, Edison bulbs, leather-bound menus with cuts of meat I couldn't pronounce. Mom waved from her seat, smiling like she'd already won something. Whitney, you look great, honey. I ordered sparkling water for you. She knew I didn't drink anymore. I appreciated that. The rest of the table was half full. Aunt Shelley and her third husband. My cousin Megan scrolling through her phone like it owed her money. Nobody said much more than, hey and wow, long time. I sat down and scanned the room. All noise and high ceilings. The kind of place where image mattered. I saw my reflection in the window. Plain black shirt, tied back hair, no makeup. Just me, unpolished. 10 minutes later, Darren walked in with 3 guys I didn't recognize. Suits, teeth, confidence turned up to 11. I could smell the cologne from across the table. Mom clapped her hands. The boys are here. Darren grinned and gave me a tight-lipped nod. Didn't expect to see you here? I smiled back. Yeah, surprise. Darren took the seat across from me, barely glancing before turning to his guys. Everyone, this is my sister, Whitney. She used to be a firefighter. One of those parachuting ones. The guy to his right, blonde, tight button-up, Rolex that didn't belong on anyone under 50, gave me a smirk. The smoke jumpers. That's badass, he said. Or was. What do you do now? I sipped my water. Didn't answer. Darren cut in anyway. She, took an early retirement, burnout and all that. That got a laugh from the table. A few raised eyebrows. The one with the Rolex leaned over to shake my hand. Read. That's Mark on the end. Taylor here. We all work with Darren at the firm. Mark gave me a little wave, like I was a receptionist. Taylor just stared like he was still sizing me up. I nodded but kept quiet. The server came by, all bright and efficient, and took drink orders. Wine for them, sparkling for me, no lime. Conversation shifted fast, all surface-level junk. Housing markets, interest rates, what some mutual friend had made flipping condos in Scottsdale, vacation homes in Telluride. I cut into a piece of bread, chewing slow, watching the way they talked like they were auditioning for each other. No one asked Mom how she was. Nobody asked me anything real. So, Whit, Darren said finally, swirling his wine like it owed him money. Still doing the loner in the cabin thing, or have you rejoined the land of the functioning? Mom flinched. That one hit harder than he meant it to. Maybe not. I looked up. I'm doing fine. Glad to hear it, he said. We were all worried when you ghosted everyone. Mark leaned in. You left the fire service, right? After what, 10 years of training? 12, I said. Darren let out a fake whistle. 12 years. That's a lot of smoke for someone to just walk away when things got tough. Reed laughed. Man, must have been brutal if that made her quit. They didn't know. They didn't care. They thought I bailed because I couldn't hang. I sipped more water, held my breath, let it out slow. Mark jabbed a thumb toward Darren. He told us about that time you dislocated your own shoulder rappelling to a stranded crew. Crazy stuff. Darren jumped in. Yeah, back when she was all in. before she decided self-preservation was more important than duty. It wasn't just a jab, it was calculated. He wanted a rise out of me. Taylor finally spoke, voice flat. You regret it? I turned to him. Leaving? Yeah. I locked eyes with him for one beat too long. No. It came out colder than I meant. But I didn't care. They didn't stop. Darren leaned back, smug as hell. Guess all that elite training doesn't help much when the fire's in your own head, huh? That got a round of quiet laughter, even from Taylor, who hadn't smiled once. I felt heat creep into my chest. Not anger, not shame. Something deeper. That old hollow burn I thought I'd sealed up for good. They didn't know about the report I wrote, or the bodies they pulled from that canyon, or the look in the pilot's eyes when I told him it was my call. I took another drink of water, tapped the condensation off the side. Inside, I was watching it all unfold again. The radio call, the wind shifting, the GPS error that changed everything. But I said nothing, because I already knew this dinner wasn't going to end the way they thought it would. Reed signaled the waitress as she passed, barely old enough to be working nights. Hey, sweetheart, can we get a new round over here? She nodded and moved on. I clocked the way her smile dropped the second she turned. Darren tossed his napkin on his plate. Man, I still don't get it. All that glory, all that grit, and you just tapped out. Guess some people just don't finish what they start. I leaned back in my chair, calm, collected. I finished what mattered. Reed scoffed. Like what? Writing a memoir about failure? No one noticed the waitress coming back around. Not yet. Darren smirked. Hey, maybe you can get a YouTube channel. How to bail on your team and still sleep at night. I looked at him. Really looked. His expensive shirt, that watch he probably leased, the wine-stained teeth. I could have answered. I could have broken it all down, explained exactly why I walked away. But they weren't ready to hear it. So I didn't say a word. I watched the waitress move behind Reed's chair, and I waited. The waitress stepped around Reed's chair with 2 wine glasses in one hand, the bottle in the other. She was trying to do her job, nothing more. Probably barely 19, wearing cheap black flats and a ponytail that kept slipping out of place. Reed saw her coming and didn't move, not an inch. She hesitated, then leaned sideways to squeeze through. His hand slid straight to her waist. Not a pat, a grab, fingers digging in like he owned her. She stiffened, froze for a second. Her eyes flicked to Darren, to Mark, like maybe someone would say something. They didn't. Mark leaned toward Taylor, muttering something with a grin. I didn't catch it, but I didn't have to. The tone said enough. Darren laughed, mouth open, fork midair. Taylor didn't blink, just watched like he was front row at a Vegas lounge act. I stood up, not loud, not rushed, just up and moving. My right hand came down on Reed's shoulder, flat, fast, no warning. He tried to twist around and say something. I didn't let him. Left hand under his wrist, torque, shoulder locked, weight forward. He was on the floor in under 3 seconds, choking on his own surprise. Mark stood up fast, knocking his chair backward. Too slow. He reached toward me like he thought he could stop something. I shifted left, elbow to sternum. His breath left him like a kicked tire. He dropped to his knees, clutching his gut. Taylor didn't even move, just stood there stunned, arms half raised, like maybe he'd try something if I gave him more time. I didn't. Palm to his chest. Push. Pivot. He hit the wall behind the booth with a dull thud, crumpled into a seated sprawl. 15 seconds flat. Silence hit the restaurant like a dropped plate. Forks frozen. Conversations cut mid-sentence. Every eye turned to our table. Darren's fork was still in the air. His jaw hung open. For the first time in years, he looked scared of me. The waitress was still standing there, frozen. Her hands were shaking. She set the wine glasses down like she didn't trust herself to hold them anymore. She looked at me, not with fear, just stunned. "Thank you," she whispered. I shook my head. "You didn't have to move? That's why I did." Someone gasped. A server in the back dropped a tray. A little boy at the next table whispered, "Whoa!" like it was a movie. Darren finally spoke, barely a croak. "Jesus, Whitney." But I wasn't listening to him. I checked Reed first. He was groaning, not injured. Same for Mark. Taylor was upright now, eyes darting between me and the exit like he couldn't decide which way was safer. I reached for my water glass and took another sip, heart rate steady. Mom stood halfway up, face pale, one hand gripping her napkin like it was a life raft. The manager rushed over, phone in hand. Are you a cop or something? No, I said. Just trained. He glanced down at Reed, still blinking on the floor. They started it? She grabbed the bottle, Reed whined, still hunched like a kid faking sick. The waitress stepped forward. He touched me, she said, voice louder now. Grabbed me. Right here. She pointed to her waist. Her voice didn't shake that time. Someone in the next booth said, I saw it too. Then another voice echoed it. Then another. The manager looked at me, then at the three men on the floor, then back at the waitress. I'll call the cops, he said. Just, please stay here. I nodded once. The restaurant was still buzzing under the surface, people whispering, phones out. I caught one guy filming the aftermath from his booth. I didn't stop him. Darren stood now too, but he didn't say anything else. Not to me. He was staring at Reed like he couldn't believe he ever brought him to dinner. The waitress stepped closer to me, voice lower this time. You okay? Yeah, I said. I'm good. She took a breath like she was about to cry, but didn't. And then I sat back down, tucked my napkin on my lap, and waited for the sirens. The first cruiser showed up in under 4 minutes, lights flashing through the windows. 2 uniforms stepped inside, hands resting near their belts. They scanned the room, clocked me immediately, still seated, still calm. Reed was sitting up now, red in the face, chest heaving like he'd just run a mile. Mark leaned against the wall, pale and sweaty. Taylor stood off to the side, arms crossed like a pouty teenager. The manager flagged them over. It's under control. We've got security footage queued up, multiple witnesses. The taller cop walked toward me. Ma'am, can you stand up, please? I rose, straight spine, hands loose at my sides. I'm Whitney Moore, I said. Former smoke jumper, trained in restraint tactics. I used force to stop an ongoing assault. Non-lethal, controlled. Behind me, Reed exploded. Are you hearing this? She snapped. She threw us around like a damn lunatic. Taylor nodded fast. She's unhinged. She just lost it out of nowhere. Mark stepped forward, holding his ribs. We didn't touch anyone. She freaked out for no reason. The cop glanced back at them, unimpressed. We'll see. That's when Darren jumped in. She's had issues, he said, stepping closer to the officers. Ever since she left the fire service, Look, I love my sister, but she's unstable. She isolates, she lashes out. She's never been the same since... Hey, the waitress cut in, her voice cutting sharp through the noise. He grabbed me. That one. She pointed straight at Reed. He put his hand on me. I didn't ask him to. I didn't say a word to him. He grabbed me anyway. The room got quiet again. Reed looked like he might throw up. She's lying. The manager held up a hand. We've got it on video. They pulled the officers toward the hostess stand, where a laptop sat open. I didn't follow. I stayed where I was, arms at my sides, back straight. A woman came up to me, maybe mid-30s, long cardigan holding her daughter's hand. I saw everything, she said, nodding toward the waitress. She was just walking. That guy grabbed her. You moved like... She blinked, looking at her kid. Like a movie, but real. The little girl looked up at me, eyes wide. You were brave, I nodded. Thanks for speaking up. She gave me a tight smile and moved back to her table. The cops came back a minute later. The taller one looked at Reed, Mark, and Taylor, like he was bored of their existence. We saw the footage. You 3 are lucky she's trained and restrained, or you'd be leaving in an ambulance. Taylor muttered, she should still be charged. That was assault. The cop didn't blink. No, son, that was defense. Darren stepped in again. You don't understand. She's not well. She left her crew. She quit firefighting. People who do that don't just do it without a breakdown. The cop raised an eyebrow. She left a high-risk job and knows how to protect civilians? Sounds fine to me. Another officer came over, talking to the manager and the waitress quietly. Reed pointed at me again. What kind of psycho throws grown men around over a misunderstanding? The second officer stepped in. The kind of psycho who kept her hands open, avoided the face, disarmed you all in under 15 seconds, and then sat back down. He looked at me now. Ma'am, do you want to press charges for slander or harassment? No, I said. Just put it on the record. What happened? What she said. I nodded toward the waitress. She stood beside the manager now, pale but steady. He grabbed me. That's all there is to it. The cop nodded. We've got statements, footage. Witnesses. He looked back at the suits. You're lucky she's not filing charges. Mark started to say something, then shut his mouth when he saw the look in the officer's eyes. Darren hovered behind them, but no one was listening to him anymore. His mouth moved, his hands gestured. Nothing stuck. The air had shifted. No one cared what he had to say. One of the officers turned to me. You did everything right. This could have gone a lot worse. I nodded once. It didn't. They took the guys outside to cool off. No cuffs, but no dignity either. Darren didn't look at me when he followed. Not even a glance. The waitress walked over again. Her voice was softer now. I don't even know what that was. Training, I said. She laughed once, nervous. No one's ever done that for me before. I didn't smile. They should have. I didn't sleep that night. After the cops cleared out and Mom tried to thank me through shaky hands, I left the restaurant, drove home, and sat in the dark with my boots still on. The silence brought it all back. That fire, the one in Utah, the one that ended everything. We were 3 weeks into the season, barely sleeping. Heat waves stacking one on top of the next. Northern Utah, outside Zion. High wind, steep canyon. One road in, no airlift backup. The intel said the area was clear. Every crew had pulled out. Evac orders went out 2 hours earlier. Spotters said the head was moving faster than expected. Real fast. And if we didn't cut it, it would burn straight through to the highway and take out the service station. Maybe the trailers beyond it. We had a narrow window. I had command. Controlled burn, I told the pilot. We'll choke it before it leaps the ridge. He asked me twice. You sure, more? I'm sure. It was textbook. Drop the line. Force the fire to turn back on itself. I'd done it dozens of times. I was good at it. Damn good. Until we heard the screaming. We weren't supposed to hear anything. The area was clear. We found them after the smoke curled back. A family of 3. Mom, 2 kids, maybe 9 and 12. They'd been camping near the creek. The evacuation team had missed their site. Nobody logged it. I don't remember who found them first. I just remember the body bags and the faces of my crew, all red-eyed and shaking, even the vets. The quiet afterward was louder than any siren I'd ever heard. I wrote the report that same night. 3 pages, no excuses, my signature at the bottom. I met with command the next morning. Thought there'd be a tribunal, a review, something. But the briefing room was too quiet, too clean. You did everything by protocol, they said. The breakdown was upstream of your call. But their eyes didn't match their words. Then came the real blow. We think it's best if you take some time. Step back. Consider a transition. A transition? You're meticulous, Whitney. Too conscientious. The liability risk going forward. I stopped listening after that. No press, no headline, no statement. Just a clean exit offer and a non-disclosure about the case. I walked out with my badge in a box and my boots in my hands. No send-off, no handshake. Just a long drive back to Colorado with ash still stuck under my nails. That's what Darren calls quitting. He's never carried a body. Never ordered a strike knowing it could kill someone. Never lived with the weight of being technically right and actually wrong at the same time. He doesn't get it. None of them do. I didn't leave because I couldn't handle the heat. I left because the system wanted clean numbers more than clean hands. Because I could still hear those screams when I closed my eyes. Because if I stayed, I would have buried it all and become just like the ones who told me to move on. So number I didn't crack. I didn't melt down. I saw the line for what it was and chose to walk away before I crossed it for good. That's not failure. That's survival. By the next morning, my phone was vibrating nonstop. I ignored it at first. Thought it was just Mom or someone checking in. Then a text from Megan lit up my screen. You're all over the internet, like everywhere. I opened TikTok. It hit me in the face. A grainy video taken from across the restaurant. Me rising from the booth, calm as a statue. Reed reaching. The takedown, clean, fast, precise. The caption, ex-firefighter takes down creeps in under 20 seconds. 2 million views in less than 12 hours. By noon, it was on YouTube, then Reddit, then the local news, and then the national ones. I got tagged in Facebook posts I didn't know I was still connected to. High school classmates I hadn't heard from in 20 years suddenly cared about what happened. The footage got clipped into reaction videos, memes, parody edits. Some guy synced it to Metallica, another to Taylor Swift. My inbox exploded. Journalists, podcast hosts, motivational content pages. A woman from some big talk show messaged me with a blue check and a smiley face. "You're a hero," one email said. "You're a danger to the public," another said. Some wanted interviews. Some wanted to sell shirts with my face on them. One message said, "You look dead inside. You should get help." I powered off my phone, threw it in a drawer, grabbed my keys, and drove. Didn't tell anyone where. Didn't need to. Just kept heading west until the road thinned out and the signal dropped. Found a trailhead near a dry creek bed and parked. No sound but the wind and my boots on dirt. Pine needles crunching underfoot. A hawk overhead. I sat on a flat rock and stared out at the trees. I didn't want this. I didn't want to be seen. I sure as hell didn't want to be symbolic, but I could feel it in my chest. Something shifting. Something that had been stuck there for years. All that shame I carried. Quiet, heavy, hidden. Suddenly, it wasn't just mine anymore. People were watching me. Yeah, but they were seeing me too. Some of them anyway. There was a comment under one repost that stopped me cold. She didn't lose control. She chose it. You could tell. That wasn't rage. That was purpose. Another one. You can see it. She assessed every angle. Didn't escalate, just handled it. I wish I had that kind of courage when it happened to me. And another. I hope my daughter grows up to be that calm under pressure. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. But something let go inside me, like loosening a strap that's been cutting into your shoulder for too long. I wasn't proud, but I wasn't ashamed anymore either. What happened at that restaurant wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving Darren wrong or teaching Reed a lesson. It was instinct, muscle memory, duty. For the first time since Utah, I didn't feel broken. I just felt like me. I was back at home, 2 days off grid, when the email came through. Subject line, "Looking to talk." Rachel Knox, Civil Lines Magazine. The name meant nothing to me. I deleted it. 10 minutes later, it showed up again. "Hi, Whitney. Not trying to bother you. I've spent the last day reading about your fire record. I think people need to hear more than just the restaurant story. Please consider a conversation." She'd found my personnel history, which meant she'd dug through federal archives, not just Google headlines. That caught my attention. I clicked her profile. She wasn't tabloid. Civil Lines was legit. Long-form reporting, not clickbait. I called her. I don't know why. Maybe because she wasn't asking for a soundbite. Her voice was steady, low, no fake charm. "I know about Utah," she said. "And I know they let you carry the blame alone." I didn't say anything for a few seconds. She waited me out. "You already wrote it?" I finally asked. "Almost done, but I won't publish without your sign-off. I don't want to take your story from you. I want to give it back." That line hit hard. I agreed to meet. We sat in a coffee shop outside Durango, neutral ground. She showed me her notes. The title read, "The Responder Who Said No." She'd interviewed people I hadn't spoken to in years. My former team leader, Rob Booker. My second jumper, Miguel Alvarez. Even the comms tech who'd been on the radio when I ordered the burn. They all backed me. Booker's quote was printed at the top of the second page. "She made the best call with the worst intel." I wish I'd had the guts to say the same. Miguel said I took the fall so no one else had to, that I kept the team focused after the canyon cleared, that I carried the weight the system didn't want to admit. Rachel looked at me, honest. They buried it because they couldn't handle nuance. "You didn't freeze," you responded. "You just responded differently than they expected." I read the whole thing in silence. When I got to the end, I told her to publish it. 2 days later, it went live. No ads, no paywall, just truth. And it blew up. Not viral like the video. Deeper, slower burn. The article got passed around fire departments, military forums, women's leadership groups. The comment section didn't fill with trolls. It filled with people who understood. My inbox started stacking up again, but this time the tone had changed. "Thank you for showing it's okay to act. I've worked construction for 15 years. This article cracked something open in me. My husband's in the service. He read this and cried, said, 'She did the thing I never could.' It kept going. I left my law firm after a partner assaulted a junior. I didn't even file a report. I just left. Everyone said I quit. Now I finally have words for it. I'm a paramedic. Your story helped me forgive myself for something I never said out loud." The messages weren't pity. They were connection. Rachel forwarded me a letter from a retired battalion chief in Nevada. "We always told our guys to hold the line. You showed what it means when that line gets too close." One night, I stayed up reading them until my eyes burned. I didn't respond to everyone, but I read every single word. This wasn't about fame. It wasn't even about justice. It was about truth finally walking into the room, uninvited but undeniable. And somewhere inside me, I felt a wall come down. Not all the way, but enough. I was on the back porch drinking coffee when I saw Mom's car pull into the gravel drive. No warning, no text. She stepped out holding a casserole dish wrapped in foil. I opened the screen door but didn't say anything. I made baked ziti, she said. The one with sausage, not ground beef. I know you hate soggy pasta. She looked tired. Not sick tired? Just done pretending tired. Is this a peace offering? I asked. She gave a half smile. Maybe. I let her in, set the dish on the counter, and poured her coffee without asking. She sat at the table, folding and unfolding a napkin like she needed something to do with her hands. Then she looked at me straight on. I read the article, twice. I sat across from her. I had no idea, she said. Not just about the fire. About how quiet you've had to be. About what it did to you. I didn't respond. Not yet. She shook her head. You were out there making life and death calls, and I was here mad you didn't show up for Easter. That got a laugh out of me, quick and sharp. She flinched, but not like I'd slapped her. More like I finally told the joke out loud. I should have asked what happened instead of just wanting everything to look okay, she said. That landed hard. She reached into her purse and pulled out a printed piece of paper. One corner was bent. She slid it across the table. A friend of mine, her daughter's a teacher in Aurora, middle school civics class. She sent this. I looked down. It was a letter from a 7th grade student, typed and signed in pencil. Today we read about Whitney Moore. She was a firefighter who told the truth even when it hurt and helped someone when it was dangerous. Our teacher said that's what civics means. I want to be someone who steps up like her. I stared at the last line for a few seconds. Mom sipped her coffee. Her voice went low. I used to worry something broke in you after the fire. I know now. Something broke around you, and you kept standing in it. I folded the paper in half and set it down. I'm not trying to be anything, I said. I'm just trying to live with the choices I made. She nodded. That's exactly why people are listening. The room got quiet, but not like before. Not heavy, just still. She leaned back, eyes watery, but steady. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to disappear just to deal with your pain. I didn't disappear, I said. I just stopped talking because nobody wanted to hear it. This time, she didn't flinch. She just nodded again. You're right. She stayed for another hour. We didn't rehash it all, didn't hug it out. We just talked about food, about what I'd been reading, about what the kid in the letter said. Something let go in my chest. Not a breakdown, not a cry, just space. The silence between us didn't ache anymore. It just was. And that was enough. 3 days after Mom visited, my phone lit up with Darren's name. I didn't answer. He tried again. Then he texted once, "You win." I didn't know what that meant until I opened my laptop and saw the headlines. Contractor accused of creating toxic culture at Denver firm. Misconduct claims surface after viral video fallout. Former employees say Darren. More ignored complaints. It unraveled fast. A quote from an old conference resurfaced. Him standing on stage in a blazer too tight for his ego, saying, "Keep your own house in order if you want to be taken seriously." And now his house was burning. Former coworkers came forward, women mostly, some anonymous, some not, talking about how Darren would make backhanded comments, ignore warnings, defend creeps like Reed to protect business relationships. One wrote, "He didn't touch me, but he let others get away with it. That's worse in some ways." Another said, "He built his image by stepping on quieter people," including his sister. That one hit hard. I didn't know who she was. But she was right. Then came the email from him. No greeting, no sign-off. "I don't recognize you anymore." That was it. I stared at it for maybe 10 seconds, then closed the tab. I wasn't interested in whatever he thought that line was supposed to do. A week later, he texted again. "Can we talk? In person?" I waited a full day before answering. "Fine, 1 hour, Cottonwood Park, no speeches." He was already waiting when I got there, sitting on a bench near the duck pond in a pressed shirt, like he was headed to a job interview that no longer existed. He stood when he saw me but didn't move to hug. "Thanks for coming," he said. I sat, clocks ticking. He took a breath like he didn't know where to start. Then he just said it. "I messed up. I didn't say anything. I covered for guys like Reed because it was easier. I ignored complaints because they weren't my problem. And I hated that you didn't play that game, that you walked away and still had integrity left. I raised an eyebrow. You hated me for not selling out? I hated you because you reminded me I already had, he said. That was the most honest thing I'd ever heard come out of his mouth. I saw what happened at that restaurant, he continued. Not just the takedown, what came after, how people backed you. I've never had that. And instead of figuring out why, I mocked you. Lied about you. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. You made me the failure so you didn't have to face your own. He nodded once. Yeah. We sat in silence. Ducks floated past. A little kid tossed crackers too close to the geese and got chased. It made me snort. Darren looked down at his hands. I'm sorry, he said. Not just for that night, for all of it, for trying to break something in you just because I couldn't stand it being stronger than me. It didn't fix anything, but it was real. That counted. I stood up. I let your shame go a while ago, I said, but I'm not carrying it for you anymore. He looked up at me. No pushback, just tired eyes. Understood. We didn't hug, didn't make plans. He just stayed on the bench while I walked back to my truck. There were no promises, but there was something better than that. Clarity. A few weeks later, I got an email from the restaurant manager. Subject line, "We'd like to invite you back." He said it wouldn't be public, just a quiet afternoon. One table, no press, no fuss. I showed up on a Thursday. Place was half empty, sunlight coming through the high windows. No loud groups, no staged clapping, just the smell of grilled meat and wood polish. The manager waved me over, said, "It's right there." I turned toward the far wall, next to the booth where I'd stood that night. Mounted under a clean glass frame, backlit by a narrow beam of light, was a small bronze plaque, for those who act when others hesitate. I stared at it for a second, hands in my jacket pockets. It didn't feel dramatic. It felt still. A voice behind me said, "I asked them to put it up." I turned. Ava was standing there in black jeans, hair now tied back tight. Confident posture, calm eyes. "They didn't want it at first," she said. "Said it might be too much. But I told them it meant something." I nodded. "It does." We sat at a table by the wall. She ordered fries and a Coke. I got coffee. No small talk, just easy silence. She told me she'd enrolled in airport security training, wanted to work TSA first, then move to field operations. Not glamorous, she said, but steady. And it makes me feel like I'm in control. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small pin. Round, silver, plain. "My first course issued these," she said, sliding it across the table. "It's not much, but I wanted you to have it, because that night changed my life." I didn't know what to say, so I just picked it up and held it. We finished eating, no cameras, no clapping. Just two people who happened to cross paths at the right time. Outside, the air was warm and still. I paused at the curb and looked back once. The plaque caught the sun, not bright, not flashy, just there. No more shame, no need to explain, just memory, action, and peace.